Education is the backbone of change and innovation in our country. It's what fuels the future of our society. Everyday students across America are seeking an education that they hope will propel them into their dreams. Our next guest started his mission to advocate and change education in our country when he was in the 8th grade. Walter Blanks Jr. now spends his time fighting for the next generation by communicating and pressing lawmakers to give students and parents a real choice in how they learn and grow in this country.
So Walter, what do you have planned?
I'm coming for the White House.
So now, let's dive a little further and see why Walter is a real American game changer. So Walter, thanks for coming today. What first got you into the education world?
So I am the product of a high quality education. Growing up in Columbus, Ohio, really struggled in the public school system. It seemed that almost every year I was in a different school and my parents tried everything. Public schools, charter schools, homeschooling, all of these different options to figure out where I really belonged and how I could excel. And finding the environment was just really, really difficult. And so found out about the Ed Choice Scholarship Program, and there was an instance, where I was being bullied a ton in school, and the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, was when I came home in my Spider-Man shirt, and there were holes in it, buttons were ripped, and I had a bloody nose, and I begged my mom. I said, please do not send me back to that school. And so my story begins in that moment. School Choice was able to put me in a better school, a private Christian school where I excelled 6th grade all the way through 12th grade, and broke a lot of statistics within my own community as far as graduating, as far as even being alive, at the age of 26. And so when I graduated from college, went to a small college, realized that I had a unique perspective in this movement in education, not only as someone who believes in education, but someone who's benefited from education, a high quality education, and is living a better life, an incredible life because of it. And so now I have the opportunity to fight for the next generation of students who are coming up after me. And I believe that inspiring the next generation, inspiring the people around me is the best way to live life. And so whether it's professionally or personally, that's what I aim to do. And there's no better place to start that than where I am now.
So your parents saw there was an issue with where you were going to school and saw that there was some bullying. Can you touch a little bit more on bullying in schools across the country?
Yeah, well, when I think about my own life and my own experiences, the core of the bullying, where it stemmed from, it came from things that were typically happening outside of the school building. I mean, even in my own life, I come from a blended family, tough neighborhood, dealt with abandonment issues from my biological father. And so from my perspective, I'm walking into the school building with all of these issues, which resulted in me lashing out. I wasn't a really mean child, so I wasn't bullying. I was just acting out or cracking jokes with my friends or being a distraction in the classroom. But I think when I look at the kids who were bullying me and being mean to me, they were often the ones carrying way more pain than I could even imagine. And, hurt people, right? Yeah. And so when you understand that, it makes a lot of sense as to why students are being bullied, and especially in communities that I come from. You just never know what kids are going through, whether it's at home, whether it's with their families. And so unless you have mental health experts, trained teachers, trained professionals in the school building who are able to realize that, then it's just going to be a problem. Kids don't know how to articulate what they're feeling. I mean, most adults don't even know how to. And to see it as just a distraction in the classroom or an issue in the school, like they just used to throw me in detention. I'd get detentions, I'd get suspensions, and that didn't result in anything but me being further and further behind in my academics. And so understanding that, and even when I go to schools now and I sit down with students, I just talk to me, right? Tell me what you're dealing with. Tell me what's going on. Tell me the best thing about school. Tell me the worst thing about school. And if you give a child that space to speak their mind and say what's on their minds, more often than not, you can kind of pinpoint
Yeah.
the root issue.
Tell me a little bit about your role with AFC.
So I am the National Press Secretary. I handle press releases, relationships with the media. So that's my like official title, work title. But then I'm also just a spokesperson for education, for what we're fighting for, because there's no better person to fight for school choice than the ones that have directly benefited from it. And so at AFC, they have really put me in a position where I have a platform, I have reach, I have influence. I mean, like I said, I mean, I've been at the White House 3 or 4 times because of school choice, because of AFC, because of the opportunities that I've been given, and it's been interesting to be able to be in that position as someone, as a leader in this movement, right? I look at people who came before me, fighting for me, right? Literally for me to be able to do what I do now. And so on a day-to-day basis, engaging with the media, social media content, but then also firing up legislators, right? Firing up parents to really bring this thing full circle to where now parents are getting involved, parents are getting engaged, especially coming out of the pandemic. We made a massive, massive push for school choice across the board because everything that we have been fighting for was no longer this holistic, intangible idea, right? Like whether you love public schools, whether you love private schools, whether you wanted to homeschool, like the last year showed us that there really aren't that many options for families. And I say this all the time. I don't care where you send your kid to school, right? We often get hit with things like, well, you just want to privatize education, or you just want to do this, you just want to do that. I said, I don't care. Send your kid to a public school. Send your kid to a private school. Homeschool your kid, right? Like I don't care. I mean, my parents did a little bit of all of it. And at the end of the day, the only thing I want is for a child to be in a place where they can reach their full potential. They can really dream big dreams, but then also have the knowledge and the tools and the resources to go out and achieve those dreams, right? What kind of country are we to visit schools and tell kids, you can be whatever you want, but then they open up their desk and their books are falling apart, right? We also, that's only half the battle, right? We have to be able to equip these children to go out and actually make that happen. So that's my role full time, and I love every single second of it.
Wow. So tell me, you're a young guy, big position, you're going across the country speaking about school choice for AFC. What do you say to people or older people that doubt you for your age or don't believe in you because of just how old you are?
Yeah, well, and I've gotten that a lot because of my age, because of the work that I'm doing and the circles that I'm in and the shoulders that I'm rubbing up against. I typically don't say much. I in the back of my mind, I tell them to continue to doubt. That's perfectly fine. Please do, right? Because that fuels me personally. And then I have these wristbands. I'm not wearing them today, but one of them says, let them talk. And then the other one says, respect all and fear none. And so if people doubt me, that's that's perfectly fine. But people doubted Elon Musk, right? People doubted LeBron James coming out of high school, you know, all of these things. And it's only impossible until someone does it. And that's the area that I like to work in, because that gives me an opportunity to truly inspire, which is the only thing that I'm chasing, the only thing I've ever chased. And then it also fuels. And I also think even from a young age, I've had enough credentials and enough experience to speak for itself, right? Whether it's being at the White House, being at the Rose Garden or in the Rose Garden, or sitting on panels with members of Congress, or looking at, you know, the metrics of the things that I have achieved in just 2.5 years of graduating college, right? Like that's all that matters, right? You know, when I used to play basketball and we'd be blowing a team out and they were still, you know, trash talking or celebrating, right? I just point to the scoreboard, right? Like you don't have to, when you're doing the work, it's really less about the opinions of others and the impact that you're truly making. And so the whole world can doubt me. That's perfectly fine. But I've seen the results of the work that I've done in just a few short years. And I've lived it firsthand too. So like that's also another thing that can't be shaken or can't be taken away from me. And it's something that I believe in. And when I'm locked into something, I'm locked in. And it's good luck pulling me off. And so whether it's my eyes on public office, my eyes on the White House, which is a very, very real thing to me. Like people joke like, oh, did you really tell him that? Like, you're not going to do that. And I'm like, no, like I'm serious. But like all of those things, I'm dead locked in on. I'm focused. Right. I'm meeting people. I'm asking questions, and I'm just along for the ride. And so I often say with some of my colleagues behind closed doors, I said the haters are always watching, so we might as well give them a show, right? And so doing this work and engaging at the level I've been engaging at, I'm truly blessed and truly honored to fight for something that has such it's so much bigger than just me. Right. It's not just about, oh, Walter's the school choice guy or Walter's this, Walter's that. No, like I'm a small piece of a massive puzzle. And that puzzle is ensuring that every single child has access to a high quality education.
What is a success story behind school choice?
Few of them come to mind, really. Of course, just my own story that we've talked about a little bit, being a young Black kid from Columbus, Ohio that no one knew, to being able to sit right next to the President of the United States and tell him I'm coming for his job. But one story in particular that really always comes to the front of my mind is there was a student in Florida, which has the largest school choice program in the country. Her name is Ashley. And she was born with drugs in her system, came from a very, very rough family background. The odds were stacked against her. And the craziest part of this story is she's white, right? And so like understanding that all families, regardless of what color, need educational options, but that's a side note. She had a rough upbringing, and one of her teachers told her that the teacher was going to be moving to a private school, and she wanted her to Ashley to come along with her. And Ashley was like, I don't want to go. Like, it's a private school. Like, people are snooty and, like all these different things. But she was just like, trust me, like, I think this would be good for you. And fast forward now, she does a lot of work with AFC. She's one of our favorite fellows, one of our favorite voices for choice. But the impact of her story is that she can walk up and has walked up to policymakers, whether in Nebraska or across the country, and has just had a candid conversation, right? She doesn't know everything about policy. I don't know everything about policy, but she's able to share her story in such a compelling way that she's been able to flip the hearts and minds of legislators across the country and have inspired them and have turned them into school choice champions. And when we look at the purpose of school choice and the reasoning for it and why people should support it, of course, the education, the quality of life, all of those things are great. But then to be able to go to a Capitol, go to the White House, go to Capitol Hill, and say school choice not only changed my life, but in some instances saved my life, and this is why you should support it, is one thing. But then to be able to tell it in such a compelling way that forces or that causes a policymaker to say, you know what, either I'm on the wrong side of this and now I'm on board, or I've already been on board from the beginning and now I'm just even more passionate and more fired up about the issue. And I think that results in more students having access to high quality education, which contributes to society all the way around.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest opposition to policymakers and school choice?
The biggest thing is dollars and cents. Money talks, and no matter what color you are, green is above all, right. Regardless of whether it should be that way or not. That's the truth. School choice is definitely the winning side, and we've seen examples of that even in Governor DeSantis' race for governor. The school choice moms got angry. They got fired up and they rallied and pushed him over the finish line because he supported school choice. Wow. And there are Wall Street Journal articles about it. a lot of other articles that state that, like, if it weren't for those black moms, DeSantis may not have won, right? And so being able to put that pressure on a policymaker, the unions obviously have money out the ears, right? But we have parents and families and genuine stories that, in my opinion, are way more powerful.
Ultimate end goal. What would you like to see at the end? If everything that you guys are fighting for goes the way you guys want it to, what would be the end result here in the country?
The end result would be universal school choice. Being able to have parents in the driver's seat of their child's education, allowing parents to vote with their feet. If they don't like a school, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. If they don't like a school because they're teaching things that they don't agree with as a parent, or their kid has to wear a mask or not, right? Like, whatever the reason is, parents should be empowered and in control of that, of where they send their child. And if they get in the school year halfway through and they don't like it, go somewhere else. Like, in every other market in our society, that's what we do, right? Competition breeds excellence. And so the way that the public school system has been set up is it does not allow innovation, it does not allow competition, and everything stays exactly the same. And so, of course, working in the school choice arena, universal school choice, and that's a little bit of a stretch down the line. But even at the bare minimum, I would like to see students not being assigned to what school they go to based off of where they live. Right? I think that's a good start, right? Like, I don't get everything I want in the school choice package, but at least kids who are in low-income communities can have access to other schools. So even in Ohio has open enrollment that allows you to jump from different districts, different public school districts. But the only caveat to that is districts have to opt into it. So if you want to go to a school, somewhere in Upper Arlington, and Upper Arlington hasn't opted into open enrollment, you really don't have a choice. And so allowing parents to choose what's best for their child, regardless of where they live, how much money they make, the color of their skin, would be the ultimate goal.
Well, Walter, thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.